Human beings have accomplished many things. We've built cities, we've raised families, we've created companies, we've designed technologies, we've celebrated dreams, we've manifested using the law of attraction. So what's next in our evolution?
Clearly, Mother Earth has been the target of investigation by a wide variety of life forms.
I am seeing and understanding these intelligences are coming from various levels of frequency.
These frequencies will come in and I will start to shapeshift.
They mentally are able to change the course of a storm.
We are all interconnected.
What we're talking about is something that brings all of us together.
Orenda, the intelligent energy of light.
And the light just poured out of my body and everyone saw it.
It was so instrumental in healing my body. I've lived pain-free.
You know, quantum physics tells us that our true nature is quantum, that we are vibrating particles of matter.
When I was around other people, I could feel what they were feeling.
You have this gift to be able to see and access Orenda as well.
Our greatest journey to self-mastery begins here. Get access to this hidden dimension, Orenda, the ultimate playing field.
All truth exists in this multi-dimensional space.
It is freedom.
We're going to open the floor up for anybody who has a question or who wants to comment, and if it's directed towards somebody in particular, please let us know. If not, we can see who's been called by Orenda to discuss and share what they feel. Does anybody have a question or something they want to offer about the movie or anything that's come up for them watching it? Hang on, just wait. Oh, you got it? Got it working? Great.
Everyone wants to give you microphones. There was something that came up for me, and I believe that everything, I'll just make sure I can talk into it properly, that comes up is meant to come up for a reason. And what I realised is that Naomi, I have a lot of visions, and they come to me and I'm like, I don't know what they mean until I connect to something later quite often. And I actually had the vision, and I guess it was like an insight, but it came to me as a vision of a car accident and seeing, say, like emergency workers working on getting the driver out of the car. And and it was me actually, and I saw my spirit simply walking away as if to say, you know, a person's spirit simply walks away from a car accident while the workers are doing the dramatic stuff. It's like, you know, over here in that earth realm that it's like quite dramatic, whereas the spirit just says, yeah, that's done, I'm away. You know, and so what I got in connection to that was, that's what I felt it was like, what you described with your experience.
Yeah, I suppose the basic sort of call that I get to say in return to that is basically that I have actually had 3 hospitalised near-death experiences. So one was a car accident, one was from a vaccination, and one was from a heart attack. So basically, wrapping that all up is basically not to fear, not to have any fear. So you're on the right track, basically, because our body is so intelligent. We are so intelligent. Our spirit is so intelligent that we know exactly what to do at exactly the right time. We're just here having a human experience, basically, stuck in this body until it's time to go, basically. So, yeah, I cannot stress enough that, you know, that fear, that pain, that suffering, that overall feeling of life in general. It's like you're viewing yourself. You're totally removed from the situation and you're being brought back to that true part or that true essence of yourself. So we're just here basically for a journey. So I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, absolutely. Very connecting.
But yeah,
Thank
sort
you.
of, that's what I felt to say.
Thanks, Therese. Anybody else have an offering or something they want to share? Yes, come up the back.
I just have a question. If we're having a near-death experience and our soul leaves our body...
Is this for myself or for...
for anybody that can answer it. I'm not too sure who's it directed to. So if our soul's leaving our body on a near-death experience when we're here on Earth, and people are saying that we're here on a human experience as a soul, why would the soul leave the body?
I don't know if I'll give you the answer you're looking for. I had a near-death experience, and I've done some research over the years and talked about what I believe is a soul encoding of a near-death experience. So as souls, we come here to have this experience, and certain things are meant to happen. And if our soul has encoded that experience so that at some point in our life we will have potentially a near-death experience or some other experience, I think it's a way that our soul enables and encourages us to do what we came to do. So in the same way we may meet the people we need to meet, we travel to the countries we need to travel, we have the jobs we have. I don't think our soul is about saying we're leaving, it's about helping us to be more fully present here and wake up, as someone said.
Yeah. Can I speak to that too? I just want to say something quickly. Something that really stuck with me was that it dropped away, everything, the fear dropped away when you said that, Naomi. And my feeling on it is that sometimes we don't know anything else until we feel the fear leave and we feel that peace. Sometimes we have never had that experience in our life, and you can't really argue with feelings. You can't undo them. They're there. Once you experience it, it can change your life. It can make a really big impact. So we can intellectualise near-death experiences. We can intellectualise soul leaving, body detaching, all that kind of stuff. But when it actually happens to you and you feel the peace, it's a different ballgame altogether. You feel the Orenda and you feel that peace. And so that's what I wanted to offer. Sorry to stand in front of you, but I thought if I'm over there, I don't know where. Did anybody else have anything that they wanted to ask? Want to have a nod?
Just further to that, Michelle, I'm interested in your perspective or anyone's perspective on, I've experienced that Orenda experience where you complete peace, and I've actually had very, very much so family of origin members say things to me that seem to get right inside me and just really disturb it all quite for long periods of time. I'm wondering what that's about. Like, even I've had trouble kind of feeling or talking my way back into that actual peaceful state that I did achieve for a long time. So I'm not quite sure what that's about.
Are you talking about being in a peaceful Orenda state and then being triggered by your family and... Sure. With my work in consciousness, I'd understand that as your higher self, that soul part of you, knows you're ready to bring those things up to heal. So they bother you and they come to the surface so you can't ignore them. And to the degree that you can acknowledge that and choose to move forward and look at that, you can move it on, or you can sit in that. Yeah, whether you choose to be connected or to remain in the ego state and feel that pain. But it's just information that's coming up to be expressed for your growth. Yeah.
And it reminded me what Jean said, that's why I nudged you, was Jean in the movie when she talked about the lady that had the stroke and she thought, you know, you could say, oh, the stroke, oh, it's a bad thing, but what it was a form of, it was a nudge from Orenda to say, hey, where you got to be, you know where you got to be, and follow your truth. So sometimes we think that disturbing stuff is bad, wrong, whatever, and we put a label on it, but it's just a nudge to say, hey, the piece is just there, but we just got to work with this. That's what I was feeling about that. But yeah, we both said Rael should answer it.
Oh, okay. I was just going to listen to everyone else's wisdom tonight, but I also feel that when things come up, when we reach a state of awareness in ourselves or peace or acceptance, there are certain levels of it, and then we're in it and we think, yeah, I've mastered this, and then bang, something else will come up. It's just showing us that constant level of evolution of soul and who we are becoming in the world. And we're all going to be triggered all the time about various things, but it always comes back to us and our own level of awareness within ourselves. And so, you know, there's a lot of things when we're talking about fear before. I try to look at fear with a lot of things. I know there's real fear on the planet, and it really, to me, fear is paralysing. It makes you stop and you just can't move. But a lot of the things going on the planet with fear are really about lack. A lack of understanding, a lack of vision, a lack of clarity, a lack of balance, whatever. So we often will say things, for example, oh, I'm really fearful of asking my boss for a raise. Well, you're not really in fear, you're just in lack. You're in lack of confidence. So a lot of our language and how we label things, I'm sort of working with a lot of people I work with in the business world about not putting a label on things and looking at it as merely resistance or acceptance, just putting it down to those two things. So if you're in resistance, what can I do to be more in acceptance? So it's always this work within yourself. That's how I hope that helps.
Any other questions? Yep. Oh, we've got a young man at the back here who has a question. Great. I'd like to hear from the young peeps. What's your question?
I have a game that we play between 1 and 10, and then when we play it, we have to both say the exact same number. So when I do it, I see inside my mom's brain, and I see the number, and then we have the exact same number when we say it.
And do you think that's Orenda?
Yeah.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. That's amazing. Does anybody want to comment on that from the panel? Yes? Pass the mic to Jean, quick! Hurry, before she breaks it.
Thank you. I just love children because they tap into Orenda, raw and real, and that was just the most beautiful example of, well, it just is what it is, and duh, like duh. That's all I wanted to say, and thank you to that boy. That was just gorgeous. So yes, children have always got it, always.
Sure do. Who else has a wonderful question or a wonderful thing to share with us all about their experiences with Orenda? Anybody had any? Oh, come on, Trey. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, thank you to every beautiful lady up on stage. It was wonderful going on the journey with you because as each one spoke, you shared your little sparkle of wisdom, of love, of peace, and anything that was coming through you just came through so that each one of us receive the sound and the blessing that each one of you are. So thank you so much for sharing.
And also, I just want to mention, thank you for sharing your beautiful music, Tracy. For those of you who don't know Tracy Rhodes, she's amazing. She does sound therapy, healing, and she's incredible. And that's, maybe you could share with people how that flows through you as Orenda.
Well, it flows through all of us. And if we just sit in our hearts and not think about anything that's going on outside of us, but just open our mind and our heart and be who we are, it just flows. Orenda's not being anything other than the sound of what's inside of us. It stills our mind, it stills every single aspect of our being. It asks us to do nothing, say nothing, be nothing, but just be. So, yeah. On the spot, girls.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask you to do some, but yeah.
Rishte naina rete no aya. Tote na karanahina. Unnara nehishte tayanaha.
Wow, that's going to be a hard one to top. Sorry, everybody. We've got another question.
Okay, so just bear with me. Thank you so much for you lovely ladies being up there tonight and showing your courage and being here. I'd really love to know how and if you all had times where you pushed through your barriers to be on your true path and your true alignment. I'm struggling with that massively. And I'm wondering if you had any encouragement, any ways in which you were able to show how you could step through that. My heart's even pounding now just asking.
Well, firstly, it's not about pushing through, it's about getting at ease. There's nothing to fix, there's only acceptance and ease. So everything you're going through is being by choice, whether that's conscious or subconscious. And that's a great awareness because you have a choice to choose something different. And just the awareness that your higher self, everything that's coming up for you, you are ready to deal with and to not stop. And when you say that you're pushing through, you're creating the state of resistance. So it's about getting at ease and removing the things that aren't serving you and doing the things that you love.
So I feel that we are having this human experience and sometimes we get caught up in so many different things, the lack, overwhelm, stress, everything that comes with a day-to-day existence in our lives. But like these beauties have been saying, we each have a choice in every day how we wake up, what our thoughts are, where are we putting energy towards, are we connecting to our gratitudes, are we doing things that fulfill our soul each and every day? Because the thing is, with what we start with every day is what's going to transpire and radiate and ripple out into the world. So if you are practicing your gratitude, you're practicing and cultivating self-love every single day, that's going to ripple out into your world, into your circle of influence, to your children, to your husband, to your work colleagues, and so on. And it's every moment that we have this choice, but we have to start with self. We have to start at home. And it's with our daily rituals, it's how we talk to ourselves. So if we aren't talking lovingly to ourselves, we will bring that out towards when we're working with someone else or we're talking to someone else or we experience someone who, you know, sparks or triggers something within inside of us. We will react and mirror that back onto them. So I really feel that it's every moment we start back, how can I support myself? How do I feel? What do I need to take the next step? How can I be more loving towards myself so I can share and receive that love from others?
The other thing is to not be afraid of your darkness. We, especially in spiritual communities, we don't like that person because they get angry. We don't like this and we don't like that and we avoid it. There is no light in you until you face your darkness. So not to be afraid of it. It's coming up to show you something. It's the stuff that needs to be dealt with so that you can grow and expand and become more of who you are. And also about putting yourself first. We're so programmed to give ourselves away to everybody else. And we're not doing what we do for others for ourselves, and we need to, like you said, it starts at home. making yourself a priority, not in a selfish way, but where you're filling yourself up first before you're giving to others, so that there's more of your authentic self to give and you're not constantly being drained for external reasons like acceptance and love and appreciation or even acknowledgement. It's acknowledging yourself and giving to you first.
I think also two things. One is thank you for saying that, because sometimes when we say something in a situation like this, we're actually unconsciously speaking for everyone else. And you had a lot of energy with that question, so you're asking that question for all of us. So thank you for taking the courage to do that, because it makes the journey easier for each of us, because now we have some insights from others as well. The other thing is, as souls, we volunteered to come here. And we hear often we have to have pain to have gain, but I don't believe that's true. We bought the ticket. You queued. You went to your people before you came here and you said, I'm ready. And they went, well, what are you going to do this time? Well, I think I'll probably meet my petty tyrant again because I didn't get that sorted last time. You know? And my best friend, he was my worst enemy when I was here last time. We need to sort that out. So you've chosen it all. You bought your ticket. Ride the waves and just enjoy. And sometimes you fall off the wave and you get back up. Sometimes you cry, and the tears are the cleansing things that just heal us at deeper levels. And all those emotions that you feel are just emotions moving through. You can decide to own them and say, they're mine, and no one else can have them. And here they are again, and here they are again. Or you can just go riding another wave, riding another wave. And my soul, each time I ride this wave, is becoming more and more liberated, more and more free. And that's when the joy starts to build and grow. And the space becomes so huge that you can't imagine you ever felt you were in a prison before.
Can I just add one thing for you? It takes time, and it's really important to be in that process and whatever it is, and be gentle with yourself. I went through it a few years ago, and the way I dealt with it, and it's something I share with people, is watching how a spider lives. A spider creates a web, and that's its universe, that's its world. It lives in its world. It doesn't go walking around the garden comparing itself to all the other spiders' webs and looking for, updates and upgrades and all the rest of it. It creates its web and it lives in it. Whatever falls into that web, like a leaf or a feather or something like that, doesn't pay attention to. There's no life force there. It only pays attention to anything that falls into the web that has a life force, because it supports and sustains it. So when you start looking at your world, when you're going through these things, look to what supports and sustains you, because you're creating the world that you're living in. When you're supporting and sustaining yourself, it benefits everybody else. So when in those times, just really, it's inner, but don't get impatient with yourself. It's going to take however long it takes. It's part, hey? Yeah, it's just part of the journey, but it's so worth it when you come out the other end.
Did that answer your question?
Massively. It was beautifully said. Thank you to you all. I very much appreciate it and grateful for it. Thank you.
It's gold with Stella, girls. Any other sharings, offerings, questions? It's good to take it all in though, isn't it? I wonder if everybody's feeling full. And does anybody want to hear a little bit about everybody's involvement with Orenda and how they felt, like how it affected them maybe? Yeah? Okay.
I first. I actually feel very, very blessed on being asked to speak in the movie. It was very spontaneous. Not knowing behind the scenes, I turn up and it's just, here's a camera. What am I speaking about? You'll find out. Boom. Orenda for me is my world. It's what I teach. It's what I have written in my book, Sheehan, and read that point. I see Orenda as not good, bad, or anything. Just is, everything is love, even in struggle or whatever. So doing this movie was an absolute honour, and knowing Dr Lana, she's so cool, bananas, and also connecting with all these lovely ladies, watching them shine their brilliance, and then Michelle sparkling. So yeah, for me it's been just delish.
It's been such a surreal experience, and I really have such a great, deep gratitude for Michelle for really allowing me to be part of something so very special. You guys just have so much love and respect for you. Thank you. And it was so, like I said, surreal being part of it. I love talking. I love interviewing and being interviewed. And being with Dr Lana Marconi was an amazing experience. And then just showing up and saying, "Can you talk about this?" I'm like, "Give me a minute." And then and then letting it roll and connect in with what I already know. And it just, that's why it works so beautifully, because it's already what we practice every single day in this awakened state. So it was so beautiful. And I just want to share something very quickly. I was able to go down to Melbourne to an event down there where they premiered Orenda, and it was coinciding with another event. And the first event went, I thought, terribly. You know, I was, showing my kits, and I was, doing all this mingling and networking, and I had high expectations because it was something that I really loved, and I based everything on this one event. And it didn't go as planned. And so the next day I ugly cried. I called my sister and I was like, "What did I do? Oh my God, this is awful." And then she's just going, "Just trust." And I'm like, "Yes, why do we forget this? But we're human, we have these experiences." And so I let go. And then that afternoon, that night, I got to speak again at the screening, and everything changed. Like the energy from the afternoon, the sequence of events, the synchronicities, the opportunities that come through. And then that night, everything just opened up so beautifully when we trust. And the connections were made, and the things that unfolded from that night has been amazing. And I really do believe that it's connecting to this energy, to this Orenda, and the trust and the connection to the magic that allows us to create the success is what is unfolding now. So again, thank you so much for snowballing this for me, Michelle. Thank you very much. Have to go after that. Wow. Okay, I just have so much love and gratitude for absolutely everyone on the stage, in the audience. Lana Marconi can't be here. And the people who have had faith and trust in me for what I've been through, and also love and faith and trust for myself for what I've been through, because that's my story, and that's what I want to help people get through that barrier of basically there is nothing to fear. And I tell you what, it's been a journey for me, because it's not easy for me to talk in public. I've never been a public speaker, nothing. But you know what? Pushing through everything and everything I've been through just makes it all worthwhile. So I just have so much gratitude for everyone being their authentic self and sharing their true story. Sorry, feeling a little bit emotional. And, having the courage to be here in front of everyone today or tonight. And, thank you, Lana. Thank you, Michelle, and thank you, everyone. And that's probably the best that I can do on the spot. So, thank you very much.
Got one. Firstly, thank you, Michelle. You've put on an amazing event and a great effort, and I'm sure us all in the audience all appreciate your hard work, and your husband as well, been doing everything in the background. Thank you, Tony.
Thanks, Tone Dog.
And I was sort of just asked on the spot to do Orenda. I turned up at Noosa, and 22 minutes later I was in a film. And I think she stopped me once to ask a question, and it was in and out and done.
And you're amazing.
Thank you. Because I'm speaking my truth, it's my story, it's my experience, I don't have to think about it, there's nothing to make up. And with the work I do, working in a connected state with the higher self as often as possible, checking in all the time. So the higher self is just receiving Orenda, it's just a sea of information. We all are connected in a sea of energy, but we're individual in our frequency, and it's just being able to tune into yourself and then being open to the information that's true and correct for you, for your truth, for your higher purpose, so that you can take the next step forward. So it was a really, it was a privilege to be able to speak about that. That was a very small part of what I said. The ETs didn't look like those pictures too, I'd like to say that.
Artistic licensing.
I was like, that is not my actuary.
You'll have to send us a pic.
I've only got a drawing, I never got a picture of him. It was one of those experiences. I was in a garden in the middle of the day and had that physical experience or holographic experience. So no one really knows, because there's something about the extraterrestrial world, they can affect our consciousness and they can put us into altered states. Although since I've been doing my work in consciousness and the quantum movement, I'm more in control of myself and my own authority, where nothing external to me has an authority, and a lot of that's actually stopped. Because the message from the ETs all along, since I was actually 4, when I had my first experience, is to know yourself. To not hold anyone above you, not a god, not a being, not a person, not your parents, not your husband, not your children. If you don't know yourself and take care of yourself, how can you help anybody else?
Amen to that.
Yeah. Be the spider, that's right, be the spider. So apparently I got the message. I still get the UFO activity, and I do still get experiences, but not to the extent that I used to, because their message was to wake up and start honouring yourself and know yourself and trust yourself more than anything. Thank you.
Well, I've known Michelle for a long time, woven in and out of each other's lives for what, about 15 years or longer?
2003, I think, yeah.
15 years?
Yeah, 15 years.
Awesome.
Wow.
So, Michelle... 21 then? Yes, that's about right. So Michelle rang me one day and she said, would you like to meet up with this Dr Lana? She's doing a film and I think you'd be, you'd have something to say there. And I said, well, yeah, no worries, I'm in the flow, whatever. I say yes to everything these days, well, nearly everything. And so I went up, and the same thing as what these ladies have said, walked in, and it was just like, we're going to talk about this, and now. It was like far out. Talked for ages and ages, which was wonderful, and a lot happened. Magic happens, hey, when you're sitting there and you're actually speaking your truth and what you really live and what you believe in. Something in you, or something in me, clicked really big time. And in my world, I'm doing a lot of work in the business corporate world, and I go and do presentations at national conferences, and I go in and talk about soul stuff to people who are mental and they don't really want to hear it. But I can talk their language. So after I did the filming for that Orenda with Dr Lana, the next presentation I gave after that was completely different to anything else I've ever done. And I'll just share with you what happened was I normally go in with PowerPoint slides and, we're going to do this, and I have to talk for about 2.5 hours. So it's all soul stuff. So after doing this thing with Dr Lana, I went in, and before I went on stage, I was having this 10 minutes just to zen myself and be in that flow. And the vision of one of my best friends came to me, and she was right in front of me. Her hands were on each of my shoulders, and her eyes were boring into mine. And all I heard her say to me was, now tell me who you are. And in that moment, something in me just went click. And I walked up on the stage, and the presentation I gave was nothing to do with my PowerPoint. It was something completely different. And there was like 850 people there, and I got a standing ovation. And all I did was just talk about
what I love and how I live. And most of those people have had interactions with me since. So I've got this whole, just through speaking it, something that day just opened something in me, and it's like we just have to be who we are and speak who we are, because that's what our soul song is in the world. And our soul song is our own imprint. And what we offer adds to this Orenda and adds to this consciousness and expands everything. So I'm so grateful to you, because that had to happen for me to go to what's happening in my life now. So thank you, Dr. Lana, thank you, Michelle, and thank you, Orenda.
Thank you for turning up, Rails. Thank you for turning up, saying yes. Let that be a lesson to everybody. Just say yes. You know, there's no reason to say no, really, because the worst that can happen is nothing, really.
I think it's really interesting because there are two things that come to mind for me when I think about the interview and being a part of the film. But before I talk about that, as I was watching the film, I felt really humbled and awed to be a part of it, with people speaking such truth. And that was fascinating while I was watching it, how it feels like there's something important that's resonating in it that I think will meet people where they're at, wherever that is. But the day that I was interviewed, I was at the Paradigm Shift, and I'd just spoken about soul, and I'd spoken about my experiences with star beings and various other things, and someone approached and asked if I would like to talk about Orenda. And I won't say who the people were who were fellow interviewees in the film, but a few of us went into that, oh my God, what are we supposed to talk about? And for me, the memory of that is just the silliness that came about as a result of that force of consciousness at work when you feel unsettled, you're not sure what you're going to say, but not taking it too seriously, it became something that made us all laugh and bring about that togetherness in another way. And then in relation to me being here this evening, I tend to follow the call of my soul and the call of the earth in the work that I do. And so it's the force of consciousness is always present in all our lives, and it manifests differently for each of us. And a couple of months ago, I was house sitting in Sydney, and I knew that was going to come to an end fairly soon. And I sat there one evening thinking, well, I wonder which way I'm going to go from here. And the very next day, I received notification from Michelle and the others that this was happening up here. And then a couple of other things happened in relation to coming up here. For me, that's the force of consciousness at work. And there's no work in it, but it's always there if we just allow it. And sometimes we think we have to work for it, or we have to be a certain personality or live a certain life. But it's always there. And we are always interconnected, and so the lovely Michelle has made it possible for me to be here, and Tony as well, and I really appreciate that, and get to watch a film with people who are wanting to experience that force of consciousness. And also at the premiere of Lana's movie last year, I went along because I felt like I'd been saying stuff I really didn't know if I was saying anything useful or not, you know. And like others have said, you know, you say a lot and some of it probably just ends up on the floor forever, probably wisely, but ends up on the floor forever. And so at the premiere of her movie, I was here on the Sunshine Coast last year, and she, I think it was Feel,
the Waves of Intelligence, yeah. That's right.
And I watched it and I thought, oh, if she'd have interviewed me about that, I knew about that stuff. And I said to Lana afterwards, I said, oh, if only you talked to me about that. I know a bit of stuff about that. And she just laughed. And she laughed with such glee and such heartfelt laughter that I just thought, okay, I get it. She takes what she does very seriously, but the force of consciousness and love that is just resonating with everything. So that's kind of how I feel about being in the movie and being here this evening, and may the force of consciousness go everywhere with all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I'll just quickly say a couple of things. Apart from falling into the movie and being asked to be in the movie when I was travelling to the USA, and then Lana texting me and saying, do you want to come and see me in Toronto? And my husband saying, yes, thanks again, Tony, for supporting me. It's really awesome. Apart from that, when we met Lana, when I was actually sitting in front of the camera, it was a bit like everybody else who'd shared, like, boom. I didn't even know what I was going to share about. It's about Orenda, it's about this, boom, you know. Oh, okay, boom. And yeah, you just have to surrender, right? So, Orenda, kind of right. And anyway, but after that, like, she just got all this equipment, like, and it was just like a new backdrop and lighting and all this. And she's like, oh, do you mind if we, go downstairs and can you help? Do you want to help me, or do you want to kind of hang back? And we're like, yeah, because we'd been, interested in doing video stuff. And so we were like helping her and learning stuff. And then we went out to dinner, and then we're chatting, and then we found out she's coming over to the Paradigm Shift. And then she said, I'm thinking of, interviewing some people over there. Do you want to help me? And we're like, are you kidding? And we like booked our tickets to the hotel when we got home, and she just laughed because I said, I've already bought the tickets. And then after that, it was just like a flow-on effect. We plugged into doing videography, and then we did, obviously Orenda had directed us to Lana, and then Lana needed the help as well, and the connections, and it just all flowed. And then that was in August. Was it in August or September we're in the Paradigm Shift? August? And then it was October that I got the phone call, and she said, do you want to be executive producer of 5D TV? And I was just like, well, that just happened. Jesus Christ. Yes! 2 hands. So, and we helped her with the filming and things at the Paradigm Shift. We bought lights, and Tony helped, and he's got a credit in the in credits as Lana's assistant. And so proud of you, Arnie. So yeah, the flow of Orenda, it is about turning up and saying yes, because one thing leads to another, and I think sometimes we get caught up in the how, like we kind of trying to overshoot stuff. But if we just turn up to the next thing, if we just turn up to the next thing, the how presents itself. And the one thing I say to everybody that's in front of my camera is this message, and I'll leave you with this message so we can wrap it up. I say to people that when the message is bigger than the ego, the nerves disappear. Thank you, everybody.